What you're watching is a woman being arrested outside of an abortion clinic. And keep in mind, as you watch this, she's not being arrested for throwing a firebomb, a petrol bomb through the window of this abortion clinic in the UK, or even for obstructing access to this abortion clinic. No, she's being arrested and taken to jail for praying outside the abortion clinic. Watch this.
Before I ask you any questions about what's going on today, I have to caution you, which is just your right, which is you do not have to say anything. It may harm your defence if you do not mention one question, something which you later on in court, anything you do so may give you evidence. What are you here for today?
Physically, I'm just standing here.
Okay. What?
So she just said, I'm just standing here. Why are you here today? I'm just standing here.
Why here of all places? I know you don't live nearby.
But this is an abortion centre.
Okay, that's why you're stood. Is you standing here part of the protest?
No, I'm not protesting.
Are you praying?
I might be praying in my head.
The police officer asks her, are you praying? And she says, well, I might be praying in my head.
Well, I wonder if she could have said, no, I might be praying in my head. Are you praying? What are you doing in your head?
Right. Apparently, thought police, look, it wasn't too long ago that famous writers from England were writing about the thought police entering the heads of their victims. This is a real thought police. Apparently, there's a law that prevents people from praying, even internally, out in public, or maybe it's even on the inside of your house. I don't know.
Yeah, Jeff. This cop, this police officer, this Bobby, looks like he's very. His inclination is to arrest her. He wants to get through this formality of these questions because he's just waiting to take her away. Don't you have the same sort of feel?
It's Orwellian. Honestly, This is all Orwellian. And Piers Morgan and Tucker Carlson are going to talk about this in just a few moments.
So I'll ask you once more, will you voluntarily come with us now to the police station for me to ask you some questions about today and other days where there are allegations that you've broken public spaces protection order?
If I've got a choice, then no.
Okay, well then you're under arrest on suspicion of failing to comply with the public spaces protection order.
So what is that? It's hard to argue that if your government is arresting people for praying, that you're watching a political phenomenon. Because, of course, praying is not simply a nonviolent act.
Jeff,
it's not.
One interesting point is she doesn't even admit she's praying. The implication is that she's praying. So they're arresting her on the implication that she may be praying. She doesn't admit.
Well, that's what she said. She said, he asked her directly, are you praying? And she said, well, I might be praying.
Right. So she doesn't even admit to being, she's first of all, she's being arrested for praying, of which she hasn't even admitted to.
No,
she only said she might be praying. So first it's praying and then might be praying.
And so Tucker Carlson's going to set up, I think, this piece because, there have been a large number of very public arrests. I think he cites in this debate, there are like 3,000 people that are in jail presently that haven't been convicted of some sort of a speech crime. Now, in the United States, speech is an absolute First Amendment right. And, unless you are endangering people immediately, it's imminent, then you can pretty much say what you want in a public environment, in a public space, such as a sidewalk. You could stand on a sidewalk and say what you want, but certainly in the United States, you could stand on a sidewalk and just continue to stand and have thoughts happening in your own mind.
Can you imagine, Jeff, if there's somewhere in downtown London where there's a mugging going on while this police officer is standing here interrogating this woman about possibly praying? Meanwhile, there's actually criminals on the streets committing crimes against fellow.
Oh, well, Scott, a mere stabbing or a mere hacking with a machete or a sword. This is serious crime that we're watching right here. This woman is committing very serious crime. Let's watch.
Even a physical act, it can't possibly, at least in secular terms, affect outcomes or harm anyone. Praying for people can never be a crime, but it is a crime in Great Britain. Literally a crime. And the woman you saw is not the only person who's been arrested for doing it. So clearly we're watching a spiritual phenomenon here.
Okay. Well, Scott, I think the problem that they have in England is that they don't have a First Amendment. They don't have any amendments. There are laws, and there's a lot of common law and statutory law, just like we have here. We share the same legal tradition, but they don't have constitutional guarantees that are embedded, enshrined in our Bill of Rights.
There are those of us occasionally, Jeff, that
seriously wanted to attach to the Constitution.
There are those of us, I say half kiddingly, that sometimes wonder if we have our First Amendment rights, if those are still fully intact.
Well,
right?
yes. I mean, in all fairness, though, places like YouTube or other video sharing platforms, other social media, those are not public spaces. Those are not public places, and so they're owned privately, and so speech can be controlled in those, just like your workplace. Your speech can be controlled and limited there. The problem, though, that folks are having in England is that they're in public places, and the government is curtailing their speech. And so, if the government wrote to YouTube, or the government wrote to Rumble, or to Facebook, or whomever, and said, "Hey, you need to shut down Noble Theory podcast," or "you need to shut down Scott and Jeff," or "you need to shut down somebody, Tucker Carlson," now that would be a problem, because the government is not allowed to do that in a public, limit or control your speech in a public environment, but they're also not supposed to do it in private, although they can get away with it in some contexts. Now, if YouTube chose to do that, that's YouTube's right as a private company, for-profit private company, part of Google. They could do that. The people in England are under assault, though, by their government in a public space. Let's take a look at the next clip.
Country in the world, we're linked directly to the people who live here. And so, of course, by definition, multicultural means less of some cultures because there's dilution of the dominant culture. And you've conceded that
there
already.
There are lots of people who are non-white, who've been born and raised in this country, who've contributed brilliantly
I would never
to
deny
the success of this country, who've risen to the top positions in top industries, whether it's music.
So defensive. I'm not attacking the non-whites.
Well, in a way,
because you're worried about getting arrested. I get it. And
I'm
by
not
the way,
worried about being arrested.
When they rush in the door with no guns, little bobbies with their sticks.
They might if they know you're here.
Probably.
I'm not worried about.
I got hassled at your airport again. And
really?
Yeah, always.
Well, for being Tucker Carlson.
We don't know. It's just it's the AI, I guess. But.
No, wait, I love that. What happened to you?
It's like, go see the attendant. And by the way, the attendant was some Pakistani woman who's like, "Oh, we're so glad you're here." Which I don't think I would have gotten from the liberal white lady. So again, once again, I'm not attacking anyone on the basis of their race.
No, but you're saying that our culture
religion
has changed because we've had other cultures come here. Is that your position?
Well, it's not my position. It's a fact. And you just said at the beginning. So it's better. So what about British culture didn't you like and has been improved by new cultures?
Oh, well.
Tell me, what didn't you like before? What are you glad is gone from the Britain you grew up in?
Let me tell you. If you came to London in the 50s and 60s, the food was crap.
All right. So Pierre, given this heated debate about what was better, about England. So is England better today, or was England better in the past? Spirited sort of back and forth, and then Piers brings out a very powerful bit of evidence, which is the food is so much better
Jeff,
today.
The bangers and mash have come such a long way.
So boiled food from the 50s, it was not very good. And today there's so much more variety in the food, choice of food options, that's really the main argument he's going to bring out. Normally we lead with our most powerful argument, and then we will defer to less and less high quality arguments or strong arguments as we move through the list, usually ascended in a certain, ascended or rank ordering. Well, no. I think he thinks that food is the most important thing that's
Piers
been
Morgan is
improved.
blinded by his British pride, and what a level of desperation! It is laughable. I mean, Carlson's reaction is funny and appropriate.
Well, we'll see that in just a moment. But I mean, let's face it. If I were in Piers Morgan's shoes in this particular setting, I would have talked about the fact that England is one of the foundational countries for modern Western knowledge, economics, economic theory, philosophy. Literature. History. A lot of the academic silos develop in England. The English academies, English education is a very, very important.
Cambridge, Oxford, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And for a long time, right? Those universities have been around for a long time. The development of obviously Rome is probably the foundation. Greece and Rome, the foundation of Western culture, but certainly England and its development has led to a lot of things we take for granted. For instance, this idea of an executive and having two branches of a legislative house. So Parliament is decomposed into the House of Lords, which would be our Senate, and the House of Commons, which would be our House of Representatives. We get this sort of relationship from England. I mean, it's improved upon, but the structure of government, the creation of rights through the Magna Carta, through various different common law that was created over time between the relationship between the people and their representatives in Parliament.
This country was founded on many of the elements that originated in Britain.
He doesn't mention any of this stuff. He says the food. The food is better. Okay, let's watch.
Absolute crap.
Well, it was that way in the 80s when I was here.
Right. Now we have some of the best gastronomy.
Amazing. Some of the most expensive, too. I wonder, is everyone eating there?
And no, I can tell you.
I paid $1,000 for dinner last
You're
night.
a wealthy man leading a very wealthy lifestyle.
Holy shit,
Why
all
don't you
the
come
food
with me?
here is...
Come with me to Brick Lane. Come with me to Brixton. I'll give you a proper meal.
I love it. You and I will go...
You know what's so funny? So you have Piers just sort of, shaming a little bit Tucker. He said, Tucker says, I spent $1,000 on a dinner. Now, by the way, I could remember meals being just between my wife and myself 20 years ago were $200. So, I mean, food is expensive in London, but he's going to shame Tucker a little bit by saying, hey, you're a wealthy man and you're living a wealthy lifestyle. Well, Piers Morgan is a very wealthy man himself. He has a $130 million media business. And so, he knows all about lots of money and lots of lavish lifestyle. So I think he's trying to redirect a little bit. That's not a very good argument.
Go to the tough parts of town and eat street food.
I can give you a great
But
meal.
are you really saying
I'll
the
take
food?
I'll take you to the top end
The
of Portobello
food?
Market. Right, you come with me. If you want to risk death walking up to Portobello Market, I'll take you and give you some street food and you'll spend
I've been to
£10.
Portobello Market, and by the way,
did you go to
just
the
in
food
point of fact, I'm quite popular there. I will say that.
In
So
Notting Hill?
I feel no fear at all.
In Notting Hill?
Yeah, I will
Really?
eat. Oh man,
I would have thought they're so liberal there.
Don't even get.
In Notting Hill.
All of a sudden, Piers Morgan's a British royal woman.
Yeah.
Speaking
Did you say Notting Hill?
He's channeling his inner Thatcher.
Get me going.
Even I get a hard time up there.
I think they secretly love me because they know that they've been naughty.
So Piers Morgan says, I even get a hard time. He's saying, Tucker, you're conservative. Notting Hill is full of liberals. I even get a hard time there. But ultimately, Piers Morgan is himself a liberal. He's a guy who's changed his positions multiple times based on the winds of popularity rather than principle. So he's not a principled person, and so his positions are going to be based entirely on what gets him the most, in this context, the most clicks. And in the past, his ratings were going to be high.
Look, I mean, he's backpedaling. The UK is backpedaling. The whole country is on its heels based on the worldwide coverage of what's going on in there regarding free speech and regarding the domestic problems that they have over there. I think it's forgotten its history. I think it's rudderless. I think Piers Morgan knows it, and I think he's constantly deflecting all these points that Carlson's making, and he's doing a poor job, by the way.
Very
he's using
poor.
humor to escape Carlson's overwhelming points of position, and I think he's struggling, and Carlson's not letting up. It gets better.
But whatever, my theories aside, here's my point. What about British culture apart from the boiled menu, which was repulsive? Do you think, but the national character, and let me say it again, tidiness, self-restraint, selflessness, courage, fairness. The British system was imported around the world on the basis of one concept, fairness. That comes from the Magna Carta.
I think a lot of
Has this become a fairer society? It's become completely unfair. You put fucking Julian Assange in prison for years without charges. Because the CIA told you to.
We have had a massive rising issue with the suppression of free speech.
Which is a fairness issue.
But that has nothing to do with ethnicity or
culture.
Oh,
really? So what does it have to do with, do you think?
He completely just bypasses the criticism about Julian Assange.
Right.
That's a very legitimate issue, right? The United States said to England, listen, you need to put this guy under house arrest. And they kept him captive there for years because the United States was not very happy with Julian Assange releasing, through WikiLeaks, some classified information. And so he doesn't even respond to it. He just passes it over and jumps onto something else.
It has to do with a very ridiculously draconian view of what free speech is.
But where does that come from? You've never had that.
From governments.
No, but of course. But those are attitudes that grow from the population, or else you would have a revolution. This is the country that invented free
that's where you're wrong. The population does not want this suppression of free speech.
They may not, but they keep
the vast
voting for the
majority.
fascists every time, whether it's
which
Boris,
fascist?
whether it's Boris,
He's not
or
a
whether it's Boris.
No.
He's a buffoon. It doesn't mean he's not an authoritarian.
He wants. it's funny you mentioned the word buffoon. So I once.
Well, I mean that's axiomatic.
I'm going to tell you.
Doesn't know how many children he has.
I'm going to tell you why. No, because I once interviewed him for GQ, and I said, Boris, this is 2008-9. I said, Boris, I've always thought that lurking beneath the buffoon exterior lies a sharp, calculating political mind that wants to be prime minister. He wasn't even a sort of politician at the time. He looked at me and he said, well, Piers, you must consider the possibility that lurking beneath the buffoon exterior is an actual buffoon.
True.
So he was right.
No, he was totally.
I can't say we weren't warned.
But the point is, look, it's not
He's
like
not a fascist, though, Boris Johnson.
He's an authoritarian.
Yeah, but it diminishes the word fascist when you say that about people. I get annoyed.
Well,
when
what is fascism actually? I mean,
Jeff, if you think about it, I mean, the world is watching. The UK, there's this ugly crackdown on free speech in Great Britain, and there's shocking arrests and convictions of people based on what they've said online. I saw a clip of these holier than thou. I don't know what the online oversight police, so to speak, and if you wrote something and posted something about someone that was disparaging, you were
considered hate speech. What is hate speech? Hate speech is an impossible a burden to sort of satisfy because somebody's going to interpret anyone's speech at any given time as hateful.
And Jeff, if I said I love you, that could be hate speech.
It could be considered intimidation, and that would be hate speech. So hate speech is a way of getting around free speech.
Sure.
If you ever hear people talking about hate speech, they really hate free speech. That's what they hate, and so they want to get around it. To have free speech, to have open dialogue, you have to have a thick skin. You have to be willing to accept that you're going to be made uncomfortable from time to time. That's just a trade-off with free speech. We all benefit from free speech. The people in England right now are suffering from just what you're talking about. Innocuous social media posts being criminalized and people literally put in jail. The thing that Tucker Carlson was focusing in on, I think, was that, look, over time, the makeup of this country has changed. But even the people that are coming to the country now overwhelmingly don't want to have hate speech. People are protesting in the streets about the lack of speech. They want free speech. So who's voting for the draconian restriction of speech. And I don't think Piers Morgan provided a response. He went into a funny impersonation of a former prime minister.
Yeah, I guess there's a story that was in Forbes recently about some Irish comedian, and he had posted 3 politically incorrect tweets illustrating how far Britain had fallen. And after he was detained in the airport, and he was released on the condition that he would not post any more tweets until his case was adjudicated. Imagine, he's a comedian for a living. Okay, well, you got what I just said.
Yeah, no satire. You know, satire is all gone. It's a humorless society. Again, George Orwell wrote about these things, you know, in the 30s and 40s, and Aldous Huxley. This is something that people have anticipated. You know, the sort of the control of speech for a long time. It's been known as a very powerful way of controlling the people. If you control their speech, if you won't let them have open dialogue with one another about their government, then it's very difficult for them to change laws, change policies through voting, because they're not able to coordinate their voting.
Yeah, there's another example too. A few months ago, the police arrested a couple for some messages they shared on the WhatsApp chat, and there was 6 officers searched their homes. I mean, this is about posting something on a chat, and they arrested a grandmother for silently holding a sign outside an abortion, just standing there. A grandmother holding a sign outside an abortion clinic that said, "Coercion is a crime. Here to talk if you want." That's all.
Well, thank you for staying with us and watching. If you like this content, please subscribe, leave a comment. We'd love to hear your thoughts.